Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more. Millions and millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more.
Thank you, President Trump. A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies, are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. Don't you want a safe environment for your children?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about this epic rally that happened in Arizona where Trump introduced RFK after RFK decided to endorse Trump, okay, to use his brain and to say, you know what, I might not necessarily agree with Trump on everything, but the right thing to do to save this country from the far left is to endorse Trump, okay? That is the decision that RFK made. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of people that are excited about RFK now being a part of the team, okay? Potentially, he could have some role in the government, mainly with health, food, things like that, which I'm super excited about. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, we got to talk about the crowd sizes, right? Which is something that Obama got triggered about at the DNC.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
But you cannot deny the reality of the fact that, in my opinion, there's much more excitement behind Trump. There's much more real support, organic support behind Trump. And what you saw at the rally last night is exactly what I'm talking about, because this is the image of the Trump rally right here versus the Kamala rally, right? Now, remember, the media was reporting how Kamala's rallies are so amazing, okay? They're sold out. So many people filling up arenas. Except Kamala has to put up black curtains to block off the empty sections because she could not fill up the arena. Versus Trump, on the other hand, as you see here, you have the arena filled up to the max. Okay, all the way up here in the bleachers, right? You don't have any black curtains to fill up these seats because everybody showed up and showed out for this rally that was hosted by Turning Point. In fact, I know a friend who went and she told me that, yeah, it was packed. Okay, it was super packed. I mean, there were people waiting outside. There were people lined up the night before, okay, to get in. And a lot of people didn't get in because there was so many people that were there. I mean, look at some of these videos. I mean, this is crazy. Electric. I mean, it seems like they're not letting people in. That's how many we're a movement of free thinkers. So many people, right? Look at this. Kamala can only dream. She can only dream of this, okay? She cannot do this. Exact same arena. Trump has it packed out to the max, okay? To the max. Again, something that Kamala could not do, okay? But the media, they were fawning over Kamala. how much love and affection she's getting. She's the greatest thing ever, right? Except just a couple months ago, she was the most unpopular vice president in history. And this is part of the reason why, in my opinion, that the media had to lie on behalf of Democrats that Beyonce was going to show up to the DNC on the last night before Kamala spoke. They did that in order to get people to watch something that they otherwise would not watch. And again, they just straight lied to the American people because they're that desperate to get people to care about and to like Kamala Harris that they had to use celebrities and Beyonce and all this other stuff like lies in order to get people to watch.
There are rumors that Beyonce might make an appearance. I personally think that that's true, but we shall see.
We're going to say this now. Can I say this?
Well, wait, let's couch it in rumors and rumbling.
Okay, let's just say, that's out there, the Beyonce talk.
You have to stay tuned, but I have it on really good word. The Beehive is buzzing right now because the preparation for the Beehive, it has to start early. Sources come from backstage. That's all I'll tell you.
Okay.
TMZ and The Hill reporting that she will indeed be making a surprise performance on stage here.
Congressman was just dancing along, and he's excited that he's hearing rumors, which a donor confirmed to me that she's also hearing that Beyonce is en route.
President of all things music and fashion and style, i.e. Beyonce, is going to show up. Queen Bey.
Surprise guest tonight. Beyonce?
I know Beyonce's got to be in town, right? My gosh, is that what we're in for? A Beyonce show tonight?
Yeah, never let anybody convince you that the mainstream liberal media is not an arm of the Democrat Party, right? Because clearly the Democrats say jump, they say how high, right? It doesn't matter what the talking point is, okay? They just repeat it, right? Like, for example, joy. There's so much joy, okay? They went from democracy to talking about joy, right? This is what they do, okay? The mainstream liberal media, they just repeat these things, okay? In fact, this is why they're so upset. They're not having a great time right now over the fact that RFK has come out and endorsed Trump. They're really having a hard time accepting the reality of what is happening with the Trump movement, which is that it is stronger than ever.
Has Donald Trump found a new running mate? RFK Jr. speaks at Trump's rally right after he suspends his campaign. What's going on, JD?
And David, another thing that happened yesterday, we saw RFK Jr. announce he's suspending his campaign, endorsing Donald Trump. Then he joined him on stage at a rally in Arizona, which I think made J.D. Vance very sad. But how does RFK Jr. suspending this campaign and endorsing Trump impact the upcoming Trump-Harris?
Yeah, so it's something we should not overlook because, look, all along, RFK Jr. was talking Republican talking points, particularly with his anti-science, anti-vaccine, conspiracy theory-driven policies and ideas. That is MAGA talk. That's Republican talk. And so I think generally we always expected him to, if he was going to draw many votes, he would draw them from the Trump campaign. And we're also now seeing some hijinks where they've admitted the entire game, saying, look, they realize that they might be helping Harris, so now he's going to drop out. So we can't overlook what's happened.
First time. Today, RFK Jr. had suspended his campaign, endorsing Trump. Kennedy telling reporters that Trump had asked him to, quote, enlist him in his administration. Now, the latest swing state polls show Kennedy with 5 or 6% of the vote. And so when you think about it overall, you may say, well, that's not a big deal. Actually, if that is the case in swing states, it is huge. It is everything. It is more than the margin between Harris and Trump in some of those same states.
You know, I think this is one of the tackiest things I've seen in politics, and that's a very low bar. Because what we see is a Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was basically bargaining to see who the highest bidder would be to get his endorsement, right? So what he's saying is that Donald Trump gave him a quid pro quo, is going to put him in his administration. Kamala Harris, rightly so, didn't give him the time of day. I think a campaign that's already wrestling with a label of weird, bringing in a guy who's had to deny that he ate a dog, who's told us he had a worm in his brain, and who stabbed a dead cub bear and then posted in Central Park. Man, talk about adding weird to weird.
You know, Scott Jennings is with us. RFK Jr., as you know, Scott, is a known conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I was watching that, and Donald Trump last week stood and said in front of a bunch of groceries and said, I haven't seen any Cheerios in a long time. I had Cheerios for breakfast. This was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And trying to get any logic out of that is good luck with that. because it's, one, you can't understand what he says. Two, if you can't understand what he says. And I'm reminded of a line in Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles when somebody gets up and gives an indecipherable speech. He says, "Who can argue with that? That's authentic frontier gibberish," and that's exactly what that is.
Yeah. Wow, incredible stuff, right? Absolutely incredible stuff. Note, Wolf Blitzer using his title as journalist to basically say that RFK is a conspiracy theorist, right? This is what I talk about when I'm talking about how the media loves to weaponize their title in order to smear people, right? I don't think it's a journalist's job to try to say that RFK is a conspiracy theorist, especially considering how accomplished the guy is. And also the fact that, he's talking about some issues that not many politicians are really talking about. Like, for example, the health of the country, the health of the average everyday person, right? For as much as these communists want us to pay for their health care, for them to be fat and obese, okay, for them to be a strain on the system, something that can lower the cost of health care for everybody is for our nation to get healthy again. And I think that's one of the most exciting parts about having RFK be a part of the Trump administration, is because I think there really should be a focus on the health and the food and just the general fitness of the American people. Because to be honest, guys, we're on a decline when it comes to these things. These things are very important.
Everywhere. Maybe we could just start right here with seed oils. We're hearing a lot about seed oils. Why should people be worried about these kind of products?
Seed oils are one of the most unhealthy ingredients that we have in foods. And seed oils, the reason they're in the foods is because they're heavily subsidized. They're very, very cheap, but they are associated with all kinds of very, very serious illnesses, including body-wide inflammation.
Right.
Which affects all of our health. It's one of the worst things you can eat, and it's almost impossible to avoid. If you eat any processed food, you're going to be eating seed oil.
Right, and it's interesting, the government subsidizes it. Why would the government want to subsidize something that's going to make people sick, and then in the end, we all end up paying for that in terms of healthcare costs, which are skyrocketing?
Yeah, because that is a direct result of corruption. About 75% of FDA's budget comes from regulated industry, and that means food processors and pharmaceutical industry. All of them profit from a sick population.
Yeah, so it's topics like that never really get talked about when it comes to politics, especially from presidential candidates, that I want to see a lot more of in the mainstream, right? And that's the thing about RFK that I really like, is like, okay, I might not agree with all his positions because he's basically a liberal who is just done with the Democrat Party because they're so far left. But, there are some positions that he has where he's right about the health of this country. It is declining, okay? And it's something that we have to do about it because we have a very corrupt, profit-driven motive to have Americans be as unhealthy as possible. It is sick care, not preventative care, and that's a huge issue, in my opinion, right? I think that this country really needs to get in shape, and I think RFK is a good representation of that, and I'm glad that hopefully he will have a role in the Trump administration. Now, with that being said, we got to talk about the people who were voting for RFK, and now they have to decide whether or not they're going to vote for Trump. And I think that this video right here is a good example of an RFK supporter articulating why is it that, again, he's putting his feelings aside in regards to him not really liking Trump and understanding that, hey, you know what? Now's the time to get behind Trump. This is what we got to do. He's not perfect, but he's much better than the other side, okay? And I think that this guy really breaks this down in a way that is spectacular. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Until today, I was planning on voting for RFK Jr. The reason I was planning on voting for him is because I felt like he did the best at laying out his positions, and I felt that he had the best disposition. Instead of just slinging insults and acting like a third grader, he actually said, I'm not going to engage in vitriol. I'm going to show respect to both sides. I want to bring unity to the country. And then he would go on to talk about his policies, which involved things like trying to get the cost of living down, to be able to afford a home, to attack certain entities such as BlackRock and Vanguard and these people that want us to own nothing and be happy. And somebody's actually talking about these things, about actually looking at vetting, better vetting vaccines and helping us be healthier. And so he's just talking about a lot of things that I feel like are real life issues that are just completely ignored and not spoken about. And but I was conflicted because, you know, I don't agree with RFK Jr. on everything. But there's a lot of things that Trump's doing as well, also fighting corruption. He doesn't articulate his position as well, and he will engage in vitriol. But sometimes that's necessary, I understand, because they come at you from the other side with both guns blazing. But I feel like, and y'all are going to think I'm crazy for this, maybe, but I feel like God's giving us one last opportunity here in the United States of America. We've done everything in our power to bring God's disapproval and God's judgment upon this nation. We murder babies. You can call it whatever you want to call it. And by the way, that's the biggest running point for old Kamala Harris over there, you know, we'll do everything we can to help you murder your baby.
Basically, yeah. I mean, that's the only thing they're running on. That, and they hate Trump, okay? The few policies that they have articulated have been stolen from Trump, or it's just straight up communism, right? But outside of those things, it's just hatred for Trump and abortion. Again, I said this about the DNC. I'm not sure what the DNC would talk about if Trump was not the GOP nominee. What would they talk about outside of abortion? They don't have anything else that they would talk about. Their whole party is built on just Trump derangement and abortion. It's really sad.
And then once they are born, you know, however you define it, wokeness or woker or wokest, you just need to be more woke. What do we mean by more woke? You know, do we need more men in the women's restrooms? Do we need more tampons in the men's restroom? Do we need more confusion? Do we need more puberty blockers? Do we need to be having life-altering and life-changing surgeries for children without the consent of their parents? Is that what we mean by being more woke? We've lost our mind. We've gone crazy. I remember reading through the Bible for the first time and reading the book of Judges, and just it surprised me the craziness that was there. That one woman, one story, there's a bunch of crazy stories, but one story in the book of Judges in the Bible, they cut a woman up in 12 pieces and send a portion of her body to all 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, and just all this craziness. And you're like, what is God trying to get across here? And there was a statement that was made over and over again in that passage, in that book. And it said, there was no king in those days in the land of Israel, and every man did that which was right in his own eyes. When there's no authority, when there's no person with a righteous cause in authority, then people do whatever's right in their own minds. And that's what you see in the United States of America right now, is we have no leadership. And everyone's doing that which is right in their own mind. Literally, we have no leadership, right? I mean, Joe Biden is not there, okay? So we literally have nobody leading the country. The dude is 100% on point. Now, I understand that Trump, you say, well, he's not exactly Mr. Morality. I understand that. Neither was David. You understand King David, a man after God's own heart. He had multiple wives. He had blood on his hands. Was involved in a lot of wars. There's a lot of things, he committed adultery and sent the husband of the woman that he committed adultery with to the front lines to make sure he got killed. He did a lot of evil things, and God judged him for those things. So we see this consistently throughout history, that people that make it to these levels of leadership, they can be responsible for a lot of immoral things as well. And God will judge them for that. But God can also use people like that. And when that bullet missed Trump's ear, and I've been one of the biggest critics of Trump, when that bullet missed him, and I was still conflicted then, I was like, I don't know. I just feel that God has RFK Jr. here for such a time as this. And I've been saying this, and he's a lifelong Democrat. And if he had ran Democrat, I would have considered voting for him. And I've never considered voting Democrat in my life. But I just listened to him with an honest heart and thought, this man is sincere. He has a love for this country. And he clearly sees the corruption, even to a greater extent than most of us. And it's obvious to anybody that's looking. And he wants to root out this corruption and right the ship. And I could see that in earnest in his heart. But I feel like Trump is the same way. And I feel like we have a different Trump now since he survived that assassination attempt. And I feel like God has put this team together. And it couldn't be more evident to me which is the side of righteousness and which is the side of evil.
Yeah, so you get the gist of what's going on here, right? You guys understand the message. I'm hoping that most RFK supporters are thinking that way, that they're saying, listen, I might not like everything about Trump, but nobody's perfect. And ultimately, it really comes down to which side are you going to go with, right? Are you going to go with the progressive left, right? Kamala, communism, right? Or are you going to go with freedom, law and order, closed borders, a better economy, okay, more opportunity, trying to get back to the American dream, no more foreign wars, okay? Kamala Harris basically confirmed in the DNC speech, one thing she did say is that she's committed to these wars, right? She's committed to having Ukraine fight Russia. So these are things that I think are important issues that people need to understand that, look, we cannot have somebody like Kamala Harris running this country, okay? You might not like Trump, but now is the time to unite, to have real unity, to understand we're not like the left. We don't have to agree on everything 100%. But what is important that we do agree on some fundamental things, and we rally behind those things, and we use that as a way to move forward together in real unity against the left and what they're trying to do to this country, which is to further divide this country and take us further down the road to destruction and chaos. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.